What's up guys, this is Break Free Addiction, and in today's video I wanted to talk to you about my past and your future and how they are connected to each other. We human beings help each other come out of certain situations, right? When I was addicted to drugs, there were people next to me. There were people who brought me out of this cycle. In this situation, if you're watching this video, you have me to bring you out of this situation because I have experienced same pain what you're having right now, and it's my task to bring you out of this cycle. Well, how do I do that? I'm sharing these videos, so-called educational videos. I'm telling information how addiction works. I know when you're addicted, it's pretty hard to understand what I'm saying in terms of not only understand but to apply to it, okay? Reading books is the last thing you want to do when you're addicted to drugs. You don't have the enough emotional fitness, so-called, to sit down and read, okay? You don't have the emotional fitness to sit in front of this video and just watch me talking about addiction. Instead, you want to just get rid of all the distractions and go and do your drug. That's all you want to do because your focus is there. I know that. I was like that. But people around me helped me. So I'm trying to help you now. And stick around on this channel. I know I will try to be more entertaining, maybe, if that helps you to stick around more. But I want to be as educational as possible. Okay. Now, when I was quitting and I went to therapist, the first thing was that we talked about my past. We talked about to explore how my childhood was, what were the feelings I had, what were the good and bad stuff of my childhood, so to say. And this is important in order to find out what was my problem, what was bothering me. It took a lot of time and it was a big process to find out, because when you're addicted to drugs and you're under this effect of drugs, your brain rewires differently, okay? So you're not as normal, so to say. Of course, there is no normal, but your brain doesn't function the same way as if you were off the drugs, okay? So the therapist said 3 months for me, that we agreed that I would not use drugs for 3 months, but after that I could start again. And this was some kind of strategy that worked for me, but maybe it's going to work for you as well and you can use it. Well, I set a 3 months and I failed, of course. The next week I used again. But then we decided to shorten the time of not using drugs to 1 month, and I failed again. Then we decided to make it 2 weeks, and that's when I was successful. I made it actually 2 weeks without drugs, because then I knew that after 2 weeks I'm going to use it again. And that was actually very helpful for me, because after 2 weeks I have realized that I have done 2 whole weeks without drugs. What if I would add 1 more week without drugs? It was extremely tempting to use it, but I said, I've made it clean for 2 weeks, I don't want to ruin it. And as time passes, your addiction, your withdrawal symptoms are lessening, okay? Well, it depends what kind of drug you use. I'm not aware of heroin, but the party drugs, what I have used, decreased. So my brain started to forget how it felt to take those drugs, comparing to 1 week. Okay, after a week I wanted to use it so much because my brain remembered the good feelings I was getting from it. But then after 2 weeks I really wanted to quit. That was also an important factor in my quitting process. I really wanted to quit. So I was thinking that I made it 2 weeks. Even though I really want to use it again, maybe I can take one more week off because I have made it this much. And I could not do that, of course. I failed again. What I'm trying to say is that I've said a lot of times I was not successful like this. I could not just quit drugs that easily. Even smoking, even drinking, it was never easy for me. I see many people telling that it's very easy because just if you have some negative consequence, let's say your kids or your family is being destroyed because of your drug usage, you should be able to quit easily because come on, look at your family, how could you do that? But it's actually even harder in that situation because you get more stress, and as you're more stressed, you want to use the drug more, because why we use drugs? To relieve the stress, right? To relieve the pain. So as you get more stress, you want to use it more, and it gets harder. So some people who are not heavy drug users or who are not addict, who doesn't have addictive personality, they won't understand how does this work. Yeah, after a lot of trial and error, I tried many times and I failed, but I tried again. I did not give up. I knew that life can't be this bad, because every time I used drugs, I was feeling guilty and I was feeling that I wanted to die. I mean, the next day when I had the hangover, of course, because my brain chemicals were killed from the drugs. Using ecstasy produces a lot of serotonin in your brain, which is a happy chemical, and that's why we feel good on that drug. However, the next day the serotonin level drops down. It's the same like if you would use a lot of sugar, your sugar spikes up, and then the next day it goes totally down and crashes. I mean, not next day, but in a couple of hours. In case of ecstasy, it drops next day and you have horrible hangover, but after a week, as it recovers, then you're back to, okay, not you're never back to normal actually, but it's slowly decreasing, and that's why you need to use kind of more and more of the drug. I could not really stop drugs until the point that I really decided to first of all, I really decided to identify what was triggering my drug addiction. And when I identified what was the main trigger of my drug addiction, I tried to avoid that trigger as much as I could. And that actually worked. There was a period that 2-3 months I avoided the trigger a lot and I haven't used drugs. And that's what made me realize that if I avoid the trigger, I will be more likely to stay sober. And after that, I kept going to therapists, okay, and I found out that I was missing the connection to myself, really. I mean, when I say this, a lot of people misunderstand and they don't understand what I mean with this. But you can not describe this because it's more of a feelings, and it's like by words I can guide you to that direction, to connect to yourself, but you really have to dive into yourself and ask yourself, where am I? Who is this inner child that you have that's always there, okay? Life negative events come up and go, positive events come up and go. The drug usage is feelings good and feeling bad is just coming up, popping up, and then it goes. But what stays there is who you actually are, okay? You never go away, because a lot of people identify with life situation or life events, and this is me. And it feels like dying when the negative thing goes away, or it feels dying when the positive thing goes away. Good example is that if you own a car for, I don't know, 10 years, or if you own some kind of item for a long time, and you start to kind of identify yourself as, this is me, that thing is part of me, that represents me, okay? But when you lose that thing, let's say you crashed the car, or the car got broken down, or your item is now to throw away, it feels like dying, you know, it feels like some part of you just left. And that's when you identify with some outside things, even negative events in your life. If you're identifying yourself with the negative events in your life and you say that that's part of my life, that's me, the family that I got is part of me, that's not true, because guess what, everything will go away, but you still stay there. What I mean is that, later on your parents will go away too. That's not part of you. That's just the story you're telling to yourself. If that was you, when your parents go away or when your negative events go away, you should go away too. You should die as well, but you don't. You always stay there. You're the watcher of those situations. You're the observer. And why do I say this? Is because when I was quitting my addiction, I was identifying with those things because I was not even aware who I was. I was not aware. I was so unconscious that I was just living like by itself unconsciously, and I had to use drugs to feel normal. And when I started to connect to my true self and I understood that, wait a second, who am I? What's going on here? Why am I even living? I started to ask these questions to myself, and therapy helped me a lot to find out what was going on with my life, who I was, and I started to really connect deeply to myself. And that was a turnaround in my addiction, because then I could make it longer without drugs. And as I could make it longer, I didn't want to ruin this time. I did 1 year without drugs, and I just kind of forgot the feeling. Of course, it was always there, but my brain kind of didn't remember the pleasure as strongly as 1 year ago. And it made it a little bit easier to keep on. And I didn't want to destroy this 1 year of cleanness. And yeah, you should also avoid the triggers when you're quitting, and you should also avoid some negative events. Life can bring you some negative events, but you have the power within you not to let life to bring you back to where you were 1 year ago, to that negative space. Okay? And allow yourself to release this. We are all moving energies, right? So you can release these negative energies from your body. And trust me, it helps to your addiction. Focus on your true self, and it's going to help break your addiction cycle. I hope with these videos you're learning something. I want you to comment below if you have any questions, if you have some specific addiction that you want to address and I'm not talking about it maybe on this channel. If you have some other issues and what difficulties you face mostly when you're trying to quit. What are your frustrations? Comment below and I will try to reply to all of you. Also like this video so it spreads the message on YouTube. Maybe some other drug addict needs to see this video. And if you want more information like this, subscribe on this channel, and as always, see you guys in the next video.